Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Inside Man United. My name is Rowan Brennan. Thank you very much for joining me once again. Coming up on today's episode of Daily News. Should United be entering into the Bundesliga to look for an attacker to join Højlund? United lacking goals. Could there be a solution in the Bundesliga? Man United player told to accept Brighton transfer as he is at the wrong club. So Jim Ratcliffe nears his first and significant Man United deal as stellar target said he'd love to work with Ten Hag. Klopp in dreamland after United pull out of centre-back race. United eyeing move for new defender who loves Raphael Varane. How is our boy Brandon Williams doing at Flying Ipswich? And Erik Ten Hag reacts to recent Garnacho comments towards goalkeeper Andre Onana. Hey everyone, happy Friday to you, and thanks once again for joining me. If you're in Ireland, there's a bank holiday weekend this weekend, so I hope everyone's looking forward to that. And yeah, a big weekend ahead for Manchester United with the derby coming up, a game that we're going into with a nice streak of wins under our belt, albeit very unconvincing wins, but a huge match ahead in Manchester this weekend. But besides all that, let's get into the news that is surrounding United at the moment, from transfers, ins and outs, and everything in between. So let's get into it. So first up in transfer news, we have the Express here with Alex Turk on an article for Man United can sign 15 million Rasmus Højlund partner with more goals than all of Erik Ten Hag's attack. Now, to be honest, most players in the league have more goals than Erik Ten Hag's attack at the moment. But yeah, the beginning of this article is just waffling on about, you know, XG and United and Casemiro, McTominay and blah, blah, blah. But the player in question is Serhou Guirassy, who's incredible goal scoring for him. He recently moved from Rennes in Ligue 1 to VfB Stuttgart, and in 9 games has scored 15 goals. So this guy is absolutely on fire. So a little bit of information. He's made headlines this season, scoring 15 goals in 9 games for VfB after joining permanently from Rennes in an 8 million deal. The 27-year-old netted 13 times in 26 appearances on loan last term as Stuttgart finished 16th. So a 1-2, not bad for a team languishing in 16th. Obviously a little bit leaky, and he was probably the main man at the club. So 13 goals in 26 appearances when you're on loan in a new team is pretty good. And with 15 goals in 9, he would certainly be a very interesting option as backup for United, especially as a cheap option as well. If you had seen some of my previous videos, United, in my opinion, need to invest heavily in the January transfer window, and it looks like we're not going to have a lot of funds available in January for a multitude of reasons because we're such a well-run club. But we do need to bring in some firepower because our lads up front are not doing it. We didn't do it last year. We were very heavily reliant on Marcus Rashford and a very mean defense to get us the points we got. Now our defense is a little bit leaky, albeit with plenty of injuries, and Højlund hasn't quite found his feet yet. Anthony, Sancho, Rashford, no one's banging them in. We need someone to come in, and I think it's safe to say Ten Hag did not bank on a young Danish Haaland being the sole striking option for United. Martial, we just can't rely on him for a multitude of reasons. When he's fit, he's not scoring, and that's when he's fit, and he often isn't. United needs something else up front, and given our lack of funds going into January, I think this could be a really good option. An experienced guy can clearly do it in Bundesliga. Now, again, Bundesliga is a tier 2 league for me. Just because you do well there doesn't mean it translates to the league. We've seen that a bunch of times from Dortmund players coming to United, whether it's Kagawa, Mkhitaryan, now it's Sancho. We've seen Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, and other players coming from Germany, and it just hasn't translated. However, this would be a good option, I think, for United. This is a guy who's in form. He's hit another level in the current campaign, and Fabrizio Romano reports he is available in the January transfer window for just 15 million. I don't know why they would buy him for 8 and sell him for 15 6 months later when he's in such red-hot form. To me, I wouldn't be taking a 7 million profit to lose those kind of goals. So Guirassy is a release clause that can be triggered this winter or next summer, which is bound to attract attention from European heavyweights, and Ten Hag could target him to join Anthony Martial in providing competition for Højlund or to replace him. So what do you guys think? Leave your comments in. I don't know much about this Guirassy guy. I hadn't really heard of him before this article came out, but the numbers don't lie, and I think United do need someone that is able to put the ball in the back of the onion bag. So with Brentford's Ivan Toney probably going to cost in the region of 50 to 60 million when he comes back from his ban, and would be expecting to start every game, it would require a massive rejig of United's team to accommodate either him or both him and Haaland with the other options that we have up front. So that could be a really good option for someone that might be willing to kind of be on the bench at this stage of his career to play in the best league for, one of the biggest teams in the world. So an interesting option there. So Man United player told to accept Brighton transfers as he's at the wrong club. Paul Parker seems to be someone that a well that many journalists dip their bucket into for little quotes and opinions on various things going on with the club. So an article here on Eriksen. Now, we know Eriksen hasn't been playing particularly well when he has come on, but I don't think the system suits him particularly well. I mean, United played a different system than what Ten Hag would like to ideally play last year to accommodate the fact we had De Gea not being able to play out from the back and Ten Hag really not having the personnel that he wanted. But even this year, our tactics and formation and lineup hasn't been great. And anytime Eriksen has come on in the later stages of games, certainly in the most recent games, he's made a big difference in terms of his creativity and being able to unlock, low blocks and teams that have been defending us stubbornly. He's been able to do what even Bruno can't do and Rashford isn't able to do. So Eriksen's been quite good. So former United defender Paul Parker believes that although Eriksen had a major impact on Tuesday's result, he's not playing for the right club due to the style of play that Erik ten Hag has. He goes on to say Eriksen made a big difference when he came on against Copenhagen because he actually wanted to pass the ball, but he needs players around him with the same brain as he does, and he also needs to be in a team who wants to dominate in possession. Now, exactly this. Eriksen is great when the team is facing the opponent's goal. As soon as we're running back and we have to cover ground, make tackles, Eriksen is basically a zero contributor. He just doesn't offer anything if you don't have the ball. But when we do have it, he is able to do some pretty great things with it. Problem is that Eriksen is the last player you would want on your team against Man City because you really don't want him to chase the ball. That's a fact. Speaking further, Parker explained that due to this, Eriksen should consider a transfer to Brighton. He's a player that would work well on a Man City or a Brighton team. To be honest, Brighton, Eriksen would improve most teams. But Brighton, who's he going to replace? Pascal Gross? Probably not. Solly March? He's injured, but a great young player, and you don't want to stifle his development. But again, I could see Eriksen just being on the bench again for Brighton. But I think the way they play might suit him better. But an interesting take from Paul Parker. He says he wouldn't like to lose Eriksen, but just from a purely selfish point of view, he could see Eriksen flourishing in a team like Brighton. And to be honest, makes a bit of sense, but I don't want to see our little Dane go anywhere. I think he's a fantastic little player, and I think he's the right tool for the right job. So depending on the match, I think Eriksen is an incredibly important player for our team. So I hope that doesn't happen. Sir Jim Ratcliffe nears first and significant Man United deal as stellar targets, says he'd love to work with Ten Hag. This is our little bald man, Paul Mitchell from Monaco. I personally think he could be one of the most important recruitments that we've made in the last decade. I think he would bring a cohesion and sense and intelligence into the transfer strategy of United. United have often just gone for the big ticket fancy players, regardless of them suiting a system, suiting a particular brand of football or a cultural identity that the club has tried to curate, which we haven't. Our identity is spend big, spend quick, spend too much, and spend it badly. But having a good sporting director, the reason why sporting directors are important is because they bring an ethos and an idea to a club whereby even if you lose a manager, the personnel should still play well together. And then you bring in a manager that suits your philosophy, your idea, instead of just going from, well, he's a good manager and he's a good manager. Yeah, they might be doing well because they've got a particular type of team with a particular set of players, a type of philosophy, identity, strategy, tactics. It's not just, well, if he's a good manager there, he'll be a good manager here. Sounds obvious, but, some people, I think, forget that point. That's why we didn't go for Antonio Conte and a number of other different managers we've been linked when we've had vacancies in the dugout. So United reportedly closing in on the first new arrival of the Sir Jim Ratcliffe era with a key appointment destined to join the club. So yeah, he wants Paul Mitchell, the 42-year-old, as their sporting director. He's worked with Wigan, MK Dons, and carving out a great reputation as someone who's a very good scout. He's got a great eye for a player and has developed great transfer strategies at a number of different clubs, whether it's Southampton, Tottenham, and he took on senior roles at Leipzig, Red Bull, Bragantino, and most recently Monaco. So obviously he's part of the Red Bull machine, which is a recruitment machine. That's what the RB, whether it's Salzburg, Leipzig, they've got a team in, I think is it Red Bull New York, in Major League Soccer. They are a talent identifying machine. That's what they do, and they're involved in football. And their whole thing is buy low, sell high, get good talent, find it, give it an opportunity to shine, generate interest, sell it at a major profit, and rinse and repeat. And that's the kind of guy you want. You want someone who's able to identify good talent, not just people like John Murtaugh, who goes online like a 15-year-old and just goes, oh, he's a great player, let's just throw 100 million at him and he'll make everything better. United have done that too often, and it just hasn't worked out. And after 10 years of banging our head against the fucking wall, maybe the penny's dropped. So hopefully we get Paul Mitchell, and I would be very excited by what to me would be probably one of the first very intelligent appointments we make at Old Trafford in terms of trying to create a new dynasty, hopefully. Klopp in dreamland after United pull out of race for a key centre-back that we were being linked with. So Gonçalo Inácio, the Benfica centre-half, a player that we've been heavily linked with. I've gone into details with this guy in previous Daily News episodes. So United looks like they're not going to be going after him or Jean-Claire Todibo or other centre-halves in January due to the lack of funds, because, once again, very well-run club, United. So apparently Liverpool are in for him, and he would be a great addition. So 60 million release clause to get the player, and it looks like Klopp is very, very interested in this player for Benfica. But on Monday, the 22-year-old was confirmed as being on Ten Hag's shortlist. The Red Devils have drawn up a list of 6 defenders who could improve their centre-back ranks, and Inácio features high up on it. However, there's now been a huge twist in the transfer chase, as United have been forced to abandon their interest because basically no money available. Deals for Jean-Claire Todibo and Mark Guhi are now unlikely too. Instead, it's probable Man United will begin talks with Mexican outfit Club America over the possible capture of Sebastian Cáceres, who will cost far less. Cáceres, again, featured on, was it yesterday's episode of Daily News? A player that Ange Postecoglou is very interested in, currently playing in Mexico, but would still command a fee of around 30 million, apparently. And to be honest, I wouldn't be overly excited about a 26-year-old who's still playing in Mexico. If they didn't get their move to Europe at that age, particularly in a defensive manner, I think the Premier League would probably be too much for them. But again, who knows? Next up, we have Man United eyeing move for new defender who loves Raphael Varane. So still on the defender theme, the Red Devils have suffered a number of injuries at centre-back. We know this. Same names again. We can see here Gonçalo Inácio, Jean-Claire Todibo. Let's just make this a little bit bigger and a bit easier for you guys to read. So Team Talk provided a Robin Lenormand transfer update in the last 48 hours, claiming United and Liverpool once again have been impressed with the Real Sociedad defender. Following recent scouting trips, the pair seem to be eyeing up potential moves, with the Spain international having a €50 million release clause in his current contract. 26 years of age, and he is at the peak of his powers with a career high €35 million market valuation. He made the move to Sociedad back in 2016 as a teenager from Stade Brest and has gone on to impress in La Liga. He's made 190 appearances for them. He's obviously been in the Champions League, with Real Sociedad having a very up and down performance, I suppose, over the last few years, but they really seem to have kind of gotten their shit together recently, and they're in the Champions League. And he scored 5 times and provided 6 assists for his current employers. I think that might be overall since 2016, which isn't a great return. But listen, you buy defenders to defend. He's also a big fan of current United defender Varane, with Lenormand previously saying the Frenchman has been an inspiration for him. Rafa Varane is an example for me, an inspiration even. Someone who went from the French second division to Spain as a young player to win everything with Real Madrid. He's one of the best in the world. I played against him a few times. He'd speak to me after the games in French. Small chats. He's a good guy, a real competitor, etc., etc. Therefore, a move to Manchester to play alongside Varane at Old Trafford could be something that appeals to Lenormand, but who would that be to the detriment of Martinez? That ain't going to happen. If anything, I see our next centre-half appointment being someone that will be replacing Varane, given his injury proneness, and he just can't be relied upon to be fit for an entire season. When he's playing Rolls Royce of a player, a great footballer, we're lucky to have him, but at the same time, you're not going to be getting even 30 to 40 games a season from him, and that's going to get even worse as he gets older. So yeah, interesting article there. So Lenormand could be a very experienced player, not the 21, 22-year-old kind of profile we're looking at with the likes of Antonio Silva, Goncalo Inacio, Jean-Claire Todibo. This being a defender who's quite experienced. They've got a few miles on the clock, and would bring in some experience that I think would be needed, as opposed to young lads that we're hoping to blend in or blood in, should I say. But again, those young lads would be able to take a back seat and probably be happy to do so, waiting for Varane maybe to take a step back over the next season or two, and then they kind of come into their own. So yeah, an interesting approach there. Our local boy, Brandon Williams, how's he getting on at Ipswich? Well, Ipswich are absolutely flying in the championship, and he's been a key part of that. He started once again for Ipswich Town as they continue their extraordinary start to the EFL Championship season under Kieran McKenna. Kieran McKenna, obviously the assistant at United a few years ago, when he was there with was it Ollie? I believe it was Ollie Carrick and Kieran McKenna. Big noise about Kieran McKenna and his ability to manage, and he seems to have run with it big time with Ipswich in the championship, and he's been doing really, really well. And Brandon Williams has just come into his own in the championship, which is great to see. We could have done with them at the moment. We wouldn't have had to get Reguilon in if we had Brandon Williams, but I think Ten Hag thought it was time for Brandon Williams to get some experience in the championship, and maybe didn't have a future at United. Even the youth team manager said that they didn't think Brandon Williams was the most talented of players, but he busts his ass in training and just absolutely throws himself into everything. And it seems he's starting to really come into his own in the championship. So perhaps Eric Ten Hag will be looking enviably at Kieran McKenna's side, as Williams, with United's injury issues, may have been a perfect player to deputise for the Red Devils. Perhaps. The defender completed 71% of his passes, won 100% of his tackles, and made 5 clearances and won 14 of the duels he contested in. So earlier this month, the former United coach was full of praise for the defender. He's getting back towards the levels that I know he's capable of, but I think more importantly, it's about pushing him past those levels, because he's young and hopefully he's got some good years in his career and big moments ahead of him. So Williams to be a United first player? Maybe not. When the loan expires with Ipswich next summer, the question will be, should he be given more opportunities in the first team? I don't see him getting ahead of Shaw. Ten Hag seems to like Malacia. Reguilon, for all we know, could replace Malacia. He could come in as backup for Shaw. The harsh reality is that United have a lot of depth at fullback, and once all our first choice defenders return, Williams would not make many appearances for the Red Devils. Listen, it would be great if it did work out. If he came back to United, I'd certainly be delighted to have him back. I like his attitude, a great little player from the youth team, but it seems he is absolutely flying at Ipswich Town, and I, for one, am certainly very, very happy to see that. So well done, Brandon. Keep up the good work. Eric Ten Hag, Manchester United manager, not worried about ban for Garnacho amid Onana social media posts. So we've seen this with a few South American, or should I say Latin-based players, who've kind of put posts up praising friends or otherwise that are of African descent. So it seems that Garnacho posted a picture with some gorilla emojis, but it was kind of to denote strength and ferocity and power. And it's been taken to potentially mean something else, even though his intent wasn't to offend, that others may find it offensive. So Garnacho posted a celebratory picture, including Onana and other teammates following the goalkeeper's late penalty. The post, which has been deleted, included emojis which could be deemed offensive. They were gorilla heads. Obviously, that can be taken as very, very offensive, but I think we all know that Garnacho would not have meant it in an offensive manner. However, Onana has himself gone on to defend Garnacho, saying he knew exactly what Garnacho meant. But Ten Hag has confirmed that United are speaking with the FA about the incident. It's just another one of these, storm in a teacup things. And I want to emphasize that we are together. We are united. You've seen that with the post of Andre Onana. Taking to Instagram to defend the midfielder on Thursday, Onana wrote, "People cannot choose what I should be offended by." And that I 100% agree with. It's not up to other people to be offended on his behalf, but the defense of the outrage is because they're doing it on behalf of other people. Cavani famously getting in trouble for this back in 2020. And Bernardo Silva also got in trouble, but his was a little bit more poking fun. It wasn't in praise, whereas Cavani's was, but he still got in trouble. Sporting Equals, an independent body established to promote ethnic diversity in the area of sport, have responded. We are disappointed to see Alejandro Garnacho's recent tweet. We understand that his intentions were not to offend, in fact, the opposite, when reflecting on the performance of his teammate. So they understand this. While the intent may have been to compliment, the tweet does not account for the lived experiences of many across the United Kingdom and beyond. So I don't see how it can be potentially racist for others, but not racist for the person that it was intended for. I mean, I think it's a case of Sporting Equals having to comment on this, because if they don't, they're, not doing their job. So it's safer to make the comment with a level of understanding, rather than not say anything at all and just kind of going, listen, we know what he meant. So they're kind of backed into a corner on this as well. Premier League footballers are speaking to the entire nation and the wider world, given the platform they hold by virtue of the Premier League attracting the best talent. This is a learning opportunity for Garnacho. Listen, the kid didn't know. He probably didn't think this was going to happen. I'm hoping the FA don't give him a ban. If they do, it's a little bit totalitarian. It's a big brotherish. I mean, the kid knows he won't do it again. He definitely didn't mean to offend. Onana's not offended. Even Sporting Equals know that he wasn't trying to offend. So I think they should all just be, it's been given lip service. It's been noted. He won't do it again. Can we please move on? But again, when it's these type of issues, it's always a difficult topic. So that is it for the news today. So that is all the news for today, this Friday, October 27th. And what are your guys' thoughts? Should we be dipping our toe into the Bundesliga for that player? 15 goals, 9 games, not bad. An average of 1 and 2 last season as well. This guy seems to be in a bit of a rich vein of form, so why not? I mean, Ivan Toney came out of nowhere in his mid-20s, so maybe this guy could be a good option given the transfer budget that will be available or not available to United in January. Also, what do we think of pulling out for the race of Goncalo Inacio and Liverpool coming into swoop in? I certainly do rate this player. He seems to be very, very highly thought of. So I don't want to see players like that going to Liverpool for very obvious reasons. Ratcliffe looks like he's going to be getting Paul Mitchell in soon. What do we think of that? I personally think that's going to be one of the best signings we've made in the best part of a decade, if I'm being totally honest. And Brandon Williams, would you have him back? I'd love to see him come back, but we've got a lot of talent there on the left-hand side when it's fit, and we mightn't even be keeping Reguilon, and he doesn't seem to be able to stay fit either. So maybe Brandon Williams should stay where he is, maybe get promoted with Ipswich and revive his career that way. Either way, delighted to see his progress. And finally, what do we think of the Garnacho Onana thing? Maybe just a little bit of a cultural lesson for our young Argentinian. Maybe keep those things for a WhatsApp chat and not put them up on Twitter, because we all know how that can go sometimes. So maybe a nice little lesson for the young lad to keep it between himself and Andre in the WhatsApp chats. Thank you once again for joining me. Thank you very much. And have a great bank holiday weekend if you're in Ireland. Otherwise, have a great normal weekend. Enjoy the derby. I'll be having an episode out as soon as possible covering that derby, who I think should be starting in that team. I think we all know who's going to be starting, but maybe they shouldn't. But I'm certainly looking forward to the match. I hope you are too. Have a great weekend. Keep an eye out for the new video, and I'll see you on the next one.